The Secrets of Doctor Who is brought to you by the Star Quest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. You're listening to The Secrets of Doctor Who, episode 220.
One day, I shall come back.
That's it. I've been renewed.
Is when a Time Lord's body wears out, he regenerates.
I'm a Time Lord. I'm not a human being. I walk in eternity.
Braveheart.
Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding.
Positioning yourself. Wearing a bit thin.
Fantastic.
I am Scottish. I can complain about things.
Ta-da! Ooh. Should be fine.
Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Doctor Who, where we discuss everything about the hit BBC series, Doctor Who. And today we're discussing the 11th Doctor story, A Good Man Goes to War. And joining me today on the panel are Jimmy Akin. Hi, Jimmy.
Howdy, Dom.
And Father Cory Sticha. Hi, Father Cory.
How's it going?
Very well, thanks. Folks, remember to like The Secrets of Doctor Who on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Secrets of Doctor Who. And retweet us on Twitter, where we're at SQPN, and leave us your comments. We love to hear from you. And in fact, we have some good feedback from listeners at the end of this episode. But Jimmy, you've got something you wanted to start with.
Yeah, so recently we did the second Doctor story, The Yeti, or The Abominable Snowman. I forget which
Yes, that's what
they
it is.
technically called it.
Yeah.
They call him the Yeti in the actual episode.
Right.
But I was interested to find out, just recently it was announced that Big Finish has an upcoming audio set that fills us in on the backstory of that episode, because one of the things that was clear from The Abominable Snowman was that this was not the first time the Doctor had been to the Detsen Monastery, that he had been there previously when he got a MacGuffin that he was bringing back in The Abominable Snowman. And so Big Finish has now created, or is in the process of creating, an audio story called The Secrets of Detsen that tells the Doctor's first visit to the monastery. It's part of their Early Adventures range. It's coming out this August, but you can pre-order it now. And it features Peter Purvis playing both Stephen Taylor and the first Doctor, and also Lauren Cornelius, who is a voice actress, not the original TV actress, playing the part of Dodo Chaplet, who is a really underestimated companion in my book. I really like Dodo.
And that was a TV companion originally?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Dodo was a first Doctor companion during the time of Stephen. She didn't stay very long. She came in right after the massacre and then left during the War Machines.
Okay.
And she was bright and spunky and very 60s young person.
Awesome. Cool. I'm getting to love these Big Finish productions that fill in the universe. Now I kind of want the other series TV shows to get this sort of treatment.
Yeah. Also, they have a series, a range out now for Rory as the lone centurion, filling in his time while he was waiting for Amy to come out of the Pandorica.
Awesome.
The only problem is every time I hear of a new set of Big Finish audios, my wallet starts whining.
Yeah.
I know. I don't even have the time to listen to it all. It's awesome. It's just so much of it.
Oh, and another one they've got is, you remember from Planet of the Dead, the 10th Doctor special where he met the kind of jewel thief lady, Christina, whatever her name was?
Yep.
She now has a range too, as does Jenny from The Doctor's Daughter.
Interesting. Do they get Georgia Tennant to do the Doctor's Daughter? Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah, I saw something recently. She's really funny, Georgia Tennant, on Twitter. Like when people post things like polls or post memes about the 10th Doctor, she'll post your favorite Doctor, and she's like 10, of course, that sort of thing. It's really kind of cute. It's funny.
Well, there's one a couple years ago where someone actually asked her, so what's David up to? And she said something like, well, he's working on an IKEA bookshelf while watching the kids. Something just like routine, normal, everyday life. It's like
mundane.
He's being a dad.
That's awesome. One of my favorites was her picture of her dad, the 5th Doctor, and her husband, the 10th Doctor, trying to working to put a light bulb up in the ceiling in the living room or something. It was really, like, how many doctors does it take to screw in a light bulb? I think was the caption. So that was good. All right, but today we're talking about the 11th Doctor, Matt Smith, and in this episode, A Good Man Goes to War. This is... They split this season in half?
Mid-season finale, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and it's sort of the first part of a two-parter. It's not technically a two-parter, but the story really flows right from this into the next one. So, as we'll see. And one of the things that gets revealed is who Madame Kovarian is, this eye patch lady. She finally gets a name. And we find out that even though in this one she still seems fairly villainous, later on we're going to find out in The Time of the Doctor that, the episode The Time of the Doctor, that she was really trying to prevent this war that was coming, this really bad war, by stopping the Doctor now. I mean, killing the Doctor is a bad thing, obviously, but she was working to prevent the siege of Trenzalore, trying to kill him before that could happen. So that's still coming. So that's kind of an interesting thing about her. I mean, there's just so much that gets revealed in this. I have to admit, when I first watched this, I was confused. So much happened. So much came at you very quickly without a lot of necessarily getting enough explanation, that by the end of it, I was thinking, like, I'm not sure what just all happened here.
Yeah.
Although this time I was much less so.
Well, the first 15 minutes is basically the Doctor rounding up people for his war. I mean,
yes.
You just got lots of little snippets flashing in and out. Although I love with Rory right off the bat. I mean, that was such a great start.
We should probably clarify, since we do these with a break, since we've reviewed the previous episode. So at the end of the last episode, the Doctor revealed that the Amy who has been traveling with them was really a programmable matter flesh replicant that had been connected to the consciousness of the real Amy, who was somewhere else in time and space and pregnant. And that's why the Doctor had been getting inconsistent readings of, is Amy pregnant or not? And so he revealed that he needed to keep the flesh avatar Amy around long enough to get enough information to block the signal to the flesh, which he then dramatically does. And Amy melts at the end of the previous episode with the promise that the Doctor and Rory are going to come get her now. And so that's what we see at the beginning of this episode is the Doctor and Rory gathering people for the coming battle, and with Rory in particular, looking for evidence of where Amy is. And he goes to the 12th Cyber Legion of Cybermen in his Roman centurion uniform, because, he was a legionary too, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I've got a message from the Doctor and a question from me. The question is, where is my wife? And he knows they're a listening post, so they should have evidence of that. But when they deny it, elements of the spaceships they're on just start exploding right or left as the message of the Doctor.
Yep.
So the Doctor is killing Cybermen here.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Rory says, would you like me to repeat the question?
I gotta say, Rory in this opening sequence is like the best Rory. This is Rory at his most awesome. This is like kind of reminds me of Rory from the few episodes of that other series that he did, the superhero DC series, the League.
Oh, Legends of Tomorrow.
Legends of Tomorrow. Yeah. Like that character he kind of plays in that is more suave and confident. And Rory here kind of comes across that way. And it's nice because it starts with the episode starts with Amy giving birth, and then the voiceover of her talking to the baby about the man who's coming, who's never going to let us down, even an army can't get in his way, and obviously we're being led to believe it's the Doctor. And then she says, I promise you'll never be alone because this man is your father. And this is where you go, the Doctor? And then Rory steps in.
They play with that, but she even teases it or the writing teases it with, he's the last of his kind and he's lived for centuries.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like, technically that describes Rory. He lived for centuries as the lone centurion who is the last of the centurions.
Well, even what they're showing, the little cutscenes as they're going along, it shows, the sonic screwdriver being used kind of as she's talking about who this person is.
Right.
So, of course, the immediate connections. Oh, this is the doctor she's talking about. Then all of a sudden, Rory walks in, and it's like, oh, yeah, even better.
And he's got the sonic screwdriver. He's been taught to use it.
Well,
Right.
it's funny, too, because I love that where he walks in, and all the Cybermen are pointing their guns at him, ready to blast him, and he's just like, I don't care.
Yes.
I got my
Unafraid.
question to ask.
Yes. Yeah. That was, I mean, this is peak Rory. That's, I got to say, this is Rory at his best. So then we kind of switch from that to this Demons Run military base. That's where we get the Battle of Demons Run.
On an asteroid.
On an asteroid. There's the soldiers of the Papal Legions, or the I forget what they call it, the Church of the Army or something.
Well, they don't really. I don't think they really gave us a name. It's just this military force that's associated with Madame Kavarian and apparently the United States Air Force.
Well,
because they're wearing Air Force uniforms, right?
Yeah, it was very much Air Force style uniforms. That's for sure.
Specifically, the airman battle uniform of the U.S. Air Force.
Yeah.
There was the thin, fat, gay, married Anglican Marines is how two of them were described.
Right.
So they call themselves Anglican Marines.
Right, that's true. It's the Church of the Papal Mainframe. We heard about this in the that Weeping Angels episode where they were in the ship, that sort of thing. So that was where we were first introduced to this group. But yeah, they're also sometimes called the Church of the Silence, I think, in other episodes. But in any case,
it's ambiguous. But here they are allied with the Headless Monks, who we've heard about before. Right. And it's really clear that the Headless Monks and this military organization are two different groups, but they are allied for purposes of taking down the Doctor.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And there's actually a couple of neat bits of exposition on showing how they're preparing to confront the Doctor, like the two soldiers doing, like one quizzing the other, like holding up two pieces of paper, one that's blank and one that's written on. And it's an exercise in identifying which one's the psychic paper. Like I thought that was kind of clever. That was a nice little thing.
And you have to look for the fractals.
Right. But yes, the Headless Monks, and apparently the Headless Monks have this agreement with this military force that some of the members of the military force will become involuntary recruits to the Headless Monks, including this one, the fat gay Marine, whatever they called himself. So there's that. So the Headless Monks. Then there's this other female soldier. Her name's Lorna Bucket, who says that she had an encounter with the Doctor as a child in a place called the Gamma Forest, where he told her to run, which seems about right. And so they ran.
I like when she's quizzed about that. That's all he said? And she replies, he said it a lot.
That's right. So the whole sense is the Doctor is both well-known. Everybody knows him and his various quirks and proclivities of the the way he does things, but he's also feared by everyone. And that's the big thing here is the Doctor is known and feared.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We also get to see intercutting in this opening montage the different people that the Doctor is gathering. Mm-hmm. They include Madame Vastra and Jenny from Paternoster Row in the 1880s London.
Yep.
And Madame Vashta comes in and says, tell Scotland Yard that Jack the Ripper has claimed his last victim. And she's apparently eaten him.
Yes.
Eaten Jack the Ripper. We also meet Strax for the first time, who is not yet part of the Paternoster gang. He is in a war in some future planet where people dress in Edwardian garb or Victorian garb. And he is a nurse to do penance for the crimes of his clone branch. And this apparently was the Doctor's idea of how to do penance. Mm-hmm. And we also meet Dorian Maldivar, the big blue guy that River once got a a vortex manipulator from. Mm-hmm. So we've seen him before. And also we meet River herself, who's coming back to the Stormcage prison facility when Rory shows up to recruit her. And she's coming back in. She's breaking back into her cell. And she's been at a party and is obviously a little tipsy. And she explains to Rory it's her birthday, which is which is important, and also you don't realize it when you first watch the episode, but they've set that up already because we've already seen someone get born this episode.
Right.
Mhm.
And she tells Rory that she can't come, that she realizes it's about to be the Battle of Demon's Run, and she says, I can't be part of this, at least not yet. She says the doctor is about to soar higher. That she says this is the doctor's darkest hour, that he's about to soar higher than he's ever been before and then fall lower than he's ever been before, and I can't be there until the very end.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And with that kind of, okay, so Stephen Moffat, Mr. Writer, you just made 3 promises, really 4, to the listener. This is the doctor's darkest hour. Okay, that's promise number 1. You better show me his darkest hour. Number 2, he's going to soar higher than he ever has before. Number 3, he's going to fall lower than he ever has before. And number 4, River's going to be there at the end. Okay, I agree. You fulfilled promise number 4. River was there at the end. The question is, does the payoff we get fulfill the first 3 promises?
Right.
And I'm sure people's mileage will vary on that. Personally, I don't believe this is the Doctor's darkest hour.
No, the Time War would be the darkest hour.
Yeah, Time War would be bigger.
Yeah.
Does he go to he does go to impressive heights here, and it is followed by an impressive low. I don't know that it fully lives up to those promises, but on those 2, I'll kind of give him a pass at, maybe from River's perspective, that's how it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's certainly arguable, are those promises fulfilled?
There's also, you could say a 5th one where this is the day the Doctor finds out who she is, which is true.
Oh, yeah. Yes, she does say that, and that one's also fulfilled.
Yeah. Yep. So I want to mention with Dorium, the blue skin guy, so it starts with him, Madame Kovarian coming to him, and they have a discussion about the Doctor and the name of the base. The base is called Demon's Run, and he says, do you know why it's called that? It's because demons run when a good man goes to war, which is where the title of the episode comes from. And then the implication is that's the Doctor who's the good man who goes to war, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's Rory, the good man who goes to war. So, interesting. So,
Could
Amy...
be both.
Yes.
Maybe some kind of hybrid.
And then Dorian
timeless warrior race that's going to stand in the ruins of Gallifrey at the end of time.
The timeless children. So Amy, meanwhile, gets this embroidered prayer leaf from Lorna from the Gamma Forests, and talks about how the Doctor comes for you.
Right.
Yep.
It's like a piece of silk.
Yeah.
That's kind of ornate and has little bells on it, but it's called a prayer leaf. And she tells Amy that, what is it, that like your child will always come back to you if you have this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she's embroidered the name of Amy's child, who she's named Melody, after her best friend, as we'll learn in the next episode. Melody, or Mel's, as she called her, was her best friend growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And so she named her daughter after her. And so Lorna Bucket is just like, this is a name from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory or something. But Lorna Bucket has embroidered the name in the language of the Gamma Forest on the prayer leaf. So she's embroidered Melody Pond on the 2, Melody on one side and Pond on the other, but in the Gamma Forest language.
Right.
As she's giving Amy this, Amy, who is very distraught at having her baby taken away from her, says, "Can I borrow your gun?" And Lorna says, "Why?" "Because I have a feeling you're going to keep talking."
Amy is like the epitome of salty Scottish woman. Like, she is really. I love Amy. So so then we have this pep rally that's going on in the big hangar bay with the headless monks and the army or the Marines, and the headless monks are revealed at this point to be headless, with this interesting little effect they have. I mean, effective body horror thing where it's not simply like just it's cut, like a cut at the top of the neck. It's sort of twisted closed like a trash bag
and singed.
Yeah, it's really creepy.
Yeah, they tied off the nerve endings, basically.
Yeah, and they have lightsabers, essentially.
Well, they have swords
Sort of.
with red glowing electrical effects.
But the blade like extends from the hilt when they activate it, so it's sort of like a light. It's sort of like a dark saber lightsaber thing. But the Doctor, of course, pops up from under one of the hoods. He's the non-headless monk among them.
Saw that coming. Yeah. Anytime the Doctor's sneaking into a place and there are people with hoods up, okay, a hood's going to come down and it's going to be the Doctor. You can just count on that.
It
And
always
of course,
is.
he has to show off. He has to come get me type of deal. And sure enough, they try.
He does
So-
get them to start shooting at each other. Yeah.
Well, and that's his goal here. So after his reveal, now I forget the name of the officer who's been leading this
Manton.
pep talk. Yeah, he tells them that the Doctor's a liar, a trickster, blah 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 blah. And the Doctor has the lights turned off, and then he says, "I'm not a trickster, I'm a monk." And so that has the effect of making the military guys suspicious of the monks, and the monks react naturally defensively, and so you get some shooting starting between the two sides. And this causes chaos, and the officer in charge starts trying to quiet everybody down. He gets all of the military people to disarm themselves and to take the clips out of their laser guns, which use clips, to illustrate to the monks that they've disarmed themselves now and we're all on the same side and stuff like that. And so the Doctor has nicely disarmed this
Right.
military force. And then we have his allies beam in. They include a bunch of Silurians. They include Jadoon to keep the army from calling for help.
Mm-hmm.
He has Danny Boy come in his World War II era space fighter and destroy the communications array. And it's like, please, I hate the Danny Boy thing.
Me too. I just wanted to add one thing. In the disarming, Manton has them chanting, "We are not fools. We are not fools." And so then they put their guns down, and that's when the army beams in around them.
Becomes
like,
fool.
yeah, you're kind of fools.
Yeah. Also, Madame Kavarian has a line where she says the Doctor must think he's winning until the trap closes. So we know something more is going on here. She's got the Amy's baby, and is heading for a spaceship to flee.
Mm-hmm.
But the spaceship has been taken over by the pirates from Curse of the Black Spot.
Captain
So
Avery.
We're pulling together all kinds of stuff from this season and last. And I like that as a concept. I just hate Danny Boy.
Yeah, I do too.
By the way, Don, when you saw the baby carrier, did you think of Grogu?
Totally. It looks like the floating bassinet from Mandalorian. I'm gonna wonder if someone got a little inspiration from Doctor Who for that one. It
could be.
And for people who may not have seen The Mandalorian, Grogu is the name of Baby Yoda.
Yes, yes, Baby Yoda. So there is there's the Doctor, once they finally capture Kovarian, the Doctor confronts her. He says, "Oh look, I'm angry. That's new. I'm really not sure what's going to happen now." And Kovarian says, "The anger of a good man is not a problem. Good men have too many rules." And the Doctor says, "Good men don't need rules. Today is not the day to find out why I have so many."
Mm-hmm.
The Doctor's sort of that darkness, and the Doctor is sort of coming out here. He's angry.
Yeah.
He's angry about this whole situation.
But we have a line that indicates Stephen Moffat has tried to pay off one of his promises, that the Madame Vastra says, "You've taken Demon's Run without losing a single life," which is not true, because some of the monks and military guys killed each other.
Yep.
But she says, "You've taken Demon's Run without losing a single life. You've risen higher than ever before." And okay, this is a pretty high rise. I mean, he did, with minimal casualties, manage to stand down this massive military force.
Yep.
There is a nice moment where Rory is reunited as he reunites Amy with Melody. You know, he comes into that white room, and then they took Rory, they took our baby away, and he does the, "Now, Mrs. Williams, that's never ever going to happen," and then brings to the baby, and then he kind of ruins it a little bit by starting to kind of get all weepy, which is just Rory, which is awesome.
That was gonna be cool.
I did like that.
So now we have to have the Doctor fall further than ever before.
I do want to mention, like, so the doctor gives them a bassinet for the baby to put the baby in, which is essentially,
as they say in England, a cot.
Right, because we don't want to use French words.
I guess. It's one of those little baby carrier things, you know.
Yes.
It's a baby bed, and it is his. So it's very old, and it was his, and that has interesting implications for the timeless child concept, because and we kind of knew this anyway because we've seen the Doctor as a small boy. Apparently, when the last pre-Hartnell regeneration ended, they forced the Doctor into an infant form, who then grew up as the Hartnell Doctor. And so this is the cot that baby incarnation, baby William Hartnell, cute little baby William Hartnell. Oh, he's so fussy. Oh, he's so fussy.
Weird images in my head. Yeah, I get some weird images in my head.
But that was his cot.
So at this point they still don't know why Kovarian and the rest wanted Melody, and Madame Vastra helps them figure out that Melody has human and Time Lord DNA.
And they're still kind of playing with, could the Doctor be the father at this point in the episode, even though the Doctor is like, absolutely not. I mean, he's Rory and Amy's child. Right. And Vastra presses the Doctor on, okay, so how would this child get Time Lord DNA? You told me your people got Time Lord DNA from prolonged exposure to the vortex. And he's like, yeah, over billions of years. Not now, the timeless child thing is going to undercut all this.
Yes.
But he said, yeah, over billions of years, it doesn't just happen. And she says, okay, so when did this child begin? And the Doctor pieces together that Melody Pond must have been conceived on Rory and Amy's wedding night, because that was
on the TARDIS.
TARDIS in the vortex.
And this is also when he figures out that Amy must have been substituted just before the first episode of the season when they went to America. Like that's when the switch was made. So the baby was conceived on the TARDIS then, and then before that.
Yeah. So we have a lot of drama and running around, intense dialogue, and also it turns out the monks are still on the station because they don't register as life forms since they're headless, and even though they're clearly alive, they don't register that way on the sensors. And so there is a firefight going on with the remaining headless monks and the Doctor's allies, most of whom have left.
Right. Or been slaughtered. There's a lot of Silurian bodies laying about, I noticed.
Yep.
And then it turns out that Madame Kovarian has escaped, and she has a taunting FaceTime with the Doctor.
Right.
And reveals that she has tricked the Doctor with the same trick twice. Right. And, of course, we're hurtling towards the fact, which has been obvious for a while, that the baby is also a flesh ganger.
Right.
And she's got the real Melody Pond with her. So the baby melts in Amy's arms. I mean, just whoosh, all at once. It's not like a wax melt. It's like totally liquefies in a second.
That's creepy.
And and it would be creepier if it was a slow melt.
It would.
But in any event, so they've lost the baby, and now River shows up, and the Doctor is really perplexed. And River tells him that because he's saying this is my fault, blah blah blah. And
but also, where were you? Is he saying?
Also, and where were you? And she tells him that absolutely, this is all you. This is all about you. You think about what you became hundreds of years ago when you first left Gallifrey just to see the universe. That was one thing, but now you have become so well known in the universe and are so feared by various people that, like in the language of the Gamma Forest, Doctor doesn't mean healer or wise man. It means mighty warrior. And we even had a line from Lorna Bucket earlier, because she's kind of an inverse Amy. They were both abandoned by the Doctor as little girls, and now they both have a chance to meet him. But Amy's perspective is he's a doctor. He's not a warrior. But Lorna's perspective is, then why is he called Doctor?
Right.
Because that's what that means mighty warrior in her language. And so the doctor, this is the alleged fallen further than ever before thing. The doctor realizes that he has become this monstrous, unstoppable killing thing in the mythologies of various people. River even says the word doctor is a bootstrap paradox that comes from him. That's where the word comes from. Right. But for some people, it means healer and wise man. For others, it means mighty warrior, unstoppable killing thing.
We should point out also that in that battle, the doctor does lose people. Strax dies, although they'll undo that later on in a mini episode that gets released in about 2 years from this point, so that he can come back for the snowmen.
And Dorian it becomes headless.
Yes, he becomes one of the headless. And Lorna Bucket is
Lorna
killed.
dies. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
As the doctor tells her, "Oh, I remember you. I remember running with you," and then
he's lying.
And then he's lying for her sake. So that is and she does say at some point that she joined the Papal Army in order to find the doctor, to meet him again. I think that was the clear there.
Exactly.
So the doctor at this point is kind of freaked out by River and what she's been saying, and he's like, "Who are you?" And in answer, she points to the old High Gallifreyan on the side of his cot, his bassinet, and that's when he understands. But what does it say?
So that's a fake out, and it's not well handled. It's apparently the doctor's name.
Okay.
But that's a fake out. She's not, we, the viewer, the first time we see this, are meant to think that she's pointing to the old High Gallifreyan on the cot. Really, what she's doing is pointing to the prayer leaf inside the cot.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. So the doctor suddenly becomes happy and understands everything, but we don't, and manically gets in the TARDIS, tells River to get everybody home, and he'll see you soon, and demats and goes off in the TARDIS, leaving everybody here. Then River, so Amy now demands to know what just happened here. Who are you? And she comes over to the cot with Rory, and River says, just look, it takes the TARDIS translation circuits a few minutes to catch up with written text, which is not true, and also the TARDIS is gone.
Yep.
But I guess maybe they still have a telepathic link with it. And Amy looks like the audience, looks at the old High Gallifreyan on the side and says, I'm not seeing anything intelligible here. And River says, it's old High Gallifreyan, it doesn't translate, which also doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
But then she redirects Amy's and Rory's attention to the prayer leaf that had been put in the cot, I guess when the flesh baby was there at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And on one side, so they pick up the prayer leaf, and on one side, it, where it's supposed to say melody, or actually she...
it starts with the other one.
It starts with the other one. It starts with where it's supposed to say pond. River explains that there is no pond in the Gamma Forest, and so there is no word for pond. Yeah. And this ties into the line that Idris, the TARDIS personification a few episodes, spoke to Rory, the only water in the forest is the river. Mm-hmm. And so melody translates into their language as, or pond in their language translates as river. And then they flip it over, and obviously a melody goes with a song. Yeah. And so melody pond is river song. And she, now having revealed herself to her parents, refers to them as mom and dad. End of episode. Mm-hmm. Doctor Who will return in Let's Kill Hitler, which was such a different title the first time I saw that come up on the screen.
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
Like, what? So, the doctor's apparently going off to rescue the baby, and it's kind of a, that's one of the things I got to the end of this episode, I'm like, what? Wait, what? I was like the 10th Doctor. What?
Yeah. So for me, this one, my memory of this episode was that I didn't like various things about it, and I thought it was kind of confusing and overhyped. Mm-hmm. And I still think those things to a degree, but having watched it a second time with analysis mode on, or another time with analysis mode on, I appreciate the complexity of the writing. I would tweak things here and there, and I would tone down some of the rhetoric But overall, and I would probably try to make a few things a little clearer, like why is the doctor leaving at the end? That doesn't make much sense because he's not going to rescue the baby.
Right.
So, and why does he take anybody with him? Right.
Yeah, exactly. I would clarify a few things, but overall, I found it an enjoyable episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Jimmy. I mean, they packed a lot into a 45-minute episode. I mean, it was very tightly packed, and there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Which, frankly, is better than some episodes we've watched where it's been the exact opposite. It could have been a 20-minute episode. So, I mean, that at least is a good thing. No, I agree. It's enjoyable, but it is very confusing at times.
There's also, I like the way they juxtapose complex emotions. Like in the opening birth sequence, we have clear juxtaposition of, on Amy's part, terror and tenderness. Because she's just realized she hasn't been where she thought she was for months. She's in this weird medical facility. She has no clue. She's pregnant. She's giving birth. And then we have the tender intercutting with her talking to baby Melody now that she's born. And it's a really interesting and emotionally complex thing going on there. And that happens at other points in the episode as well. So I like the emotional layering and texturing we have here. Don't like everything, but I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of did at the end, too, where Amy is furious with River. Like, she's got a gun on her, and River's like, it's okay. It's okay, Rory. She's fine. She's good. And then as she leads her through it, there's that contrast, because she knows she's about to reveal to Amy, I'm your daughter. And that's going to change everything. So, I like that. I like there were costs to this. I mean, Moffat eventually pulls back on killing off Strax, as Moffat tends to do. Yeah. But the loss of Lorna's dead, and she stays dead, and that's a cost to this. And she's not a major character, but there are people we've attached to it to some degree, who that we do lose. So there is that emotional cost there. So I think there was, I liked the episode. I found it a little confusing at first, less so the more I watched it, but it's a lot of action. It's a lot of quippy action, and not a lot of these other things, like at the end, the final scene and that sort of stuff, where we have a little more talking.
I hadn't expected to do this, but at the end of this episode, I found myself enjoying it enough that I immediately went on to rewatch Let's Kill Hitler.
Yeah.
And it was a nice pair. It's good to see them as a pair. I feel sorry for all of us back when they released live, and we had to wait months to get closure.
Yep.
Yes, that's right. I do remember sitting down to watch Let's Kill Hitler and going, wait, what's going on? Being confused again. I don't spend a lot of time being confused, but
it was weird too, because when they released these on DVD, they actually did them as season 6.1 and season 6.2, basically.
Yeah,
where they actually split the season with releases and everything. So it was really strange the way they made decisions like that.
I also recently was on Catholic Answers Live. We had a Weird Questions episode, and one of the questions was, who would Jimmy visit if he could spend a day with someone either living or dead from world history? And so I said, well, it depends on things like, will my TARDIS translate for me, or do I have to pick someone who speaks English? Do I get to bring Wonder Woman's golden lasso of truth with me? Because some of the people I might like to interview might be inclined not to tell me the truth without it. Also, do I get to change history? Because the saying, like Melody Pond says, you've got a time machine, I've got a gun, let's kill Hitler.
Man, now there's an interesting alt history novel that could be written about what would the world be like today, 2021, if Hitler had been killed before World War II.
Oh, it's been done.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. Did Turtle Dove do
much
that?
ink has been spilled on that.
Yeah. Okay. Someone to do it well anyway. But
by the way, I view all fiction novels, even realistic ones, as, well, it's just alt history. It's fiction, so it's alt history. Therefore, all fiction is science fiction. Okay?
There you go.
Get over it, people. No more snobbery. Those realistic novels you're reading, those are alt histories.
All right. So on this episode, any final thoughts on the My Good Man Goes to War? Father Cory?
So River says that when she's breaking back in, that she's coming back from ice skating on the River Thames. While we don't get quite payoff on that, we do get to see Capaldi and Capaldi's doctor and Bill at the frozen River Thames and find out why it was frozen.
Right. The Frost Fairs. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, I love how River says that the doctor arranged for Stevie Wonder to sing like Happy Birthday to her under London Bridge. And Rory's like, Stevie Wonder performed in Victorian London? And she says, you must never tell him. The joke being that Stevie Wonder is blind. So
he didn't know that he went back in time. Yeah.
Yes, that is awesome. There is a bit of a crossing. There's the James Corden, who does the Late Show, had a shtick where he did like doing carpool karaoke that he did with Stevie Wonder. So there's a little bit of the larger crossover with A Good Man Goes to War sort of going on. I like to imagine it anyway. All right.
Six steps of Doctor Who instead of 6 steps of Captain Bacon.
That's right. Anything else, Father Cory?
Nope.
Okay, Jimmy. Anything else?
No. On to feedback.
Well, I do have one line that I really liked. When they're going into battle and Amy is sending Rory into that last battle that's going on, she says, Rory, no offense to others, but you let them all die first, okay? And then Rory says, "You're so Scottish," which I think is great.
I have to confess. I mean, I appreciate the let everybody else die first because he's her husband.
Yeah.
But I don't get why that's Scottish.
I think it's the lack of sentimentality in the sense of you sort of hard nosed. I'm getting right to the point. I'm not holding back. I want you not to die. Let them die. Yeah. I think that's what it is. All right. So as promised, there's some feedback. So this goes back to our episode. We talked about the best classic Who, the best Doctor Who classics that we would suggest. And Father Brian writes in. He says, I've been an avid New Who fan for years, and I'd like to try out classic Who. I tried the first 2 Hartnell stories, An Unearthly Child and The Daleks, but I was turned off by the slower pace of television back then. What would be your top episodes or stories from any era of Classic Who to introduce a new Who fan to Classic Who? Thanks. So the first thing is probably to mention that we did an episode, I think it was 200, where we talked about our listing of of top stories to introduce Doctor Who to people. But specifically in this case, what do you have any straight up suggestion here for him?
I have to apologize because I meant to devote additional thought to that. I did some at the time. One of my thoughts was that looking later in Classic Who history, as television starts to become more similar to what we're used to today, like looking at the 7th Doctor's era, also something in the 4th Doctor's era, because Tom Baker was the most popular of all of them.
Right.
It's a little hard to say. I mean, I would want to sit down with a list of all the stories and think about which ones.
Right.
Oh, another general piece of advice I had is go for the shorter ones. The shorter serials, if it's a 6-parter, it's probably got some padding in it. There are exceptions to that, like The Evil of the Daleks, which is remarkably fast-paced despite the fact it's 6 parts. Unfortunately, most of it doesn't survive and has to be reanimated at this point. But generally, the 3-parters and 4-parters are going to be tighter in terms of pacing.
Well, you talk about 4th Doctor. I think one that commonly people will mention is Genesis of the Daleks.
I was just going to say the only problem is that's a 6-parter, and
it does
drag some in the middle.
It does drag a little bit. I would say that it is worth watching An Unearthly Child, the original episode. Now, episode, not story. Right. Don't go to the cavemen. But the original story does actually move fairly well. And so that's worth watching just to see the origin of the series. Caves of Androzani, if you want to go to 5th Doctor, of course, Regeneration episode, but considered to be one of the best, would be a good one. I'm trying to think where some of the other ones that we've kind of mentioned in the past.
Talons of Weng Chiang. is where is quite entertaining. That's another Fourth Doctor one. Some of the Seventh Doctor things, avoid the Sixth for now. Altogether. Don't even worry about the Sixth. But some of the Seventh Doctor ones, and I think that kind of covers a basic summary, but also check out the ones we mentioned in episode 200.
There's a couple of Third Doctor ones that we've seen that I think were pretty good. The problem with the Second Doctor is so much of it's missing.
Yeah.
There's some good stories, but you can't really watch them per se.
And they are starting to bring them up on animation. And that does help. So, and we've talked about a couple of them that they've done a really good job with.
The Macroterra was good in animation. I like that. Yeah.
And, you know, the one episode I would recommend that is a long episode, but it actually does move very, very well, especially if you watch it in like a couple of sittings, is Inferno. If you want a Third Doctor episode, that actually is a pretty good moving episode, despite being a 10-parter. But if you sat down and you watched it like 5 and 5.
It's not a 10-parter. It's like a 7-parter, I think.
Well, 7-part. For some reason, I thought it was 10. No, that's right. That's War Games is the 10.
War Games is the 10-parter.
Man. That was long.
Don't watch War Games.
No, that's one that you have to be invested in to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, Inferno, like if you broke Inferno into like 3 parts, 4 parts, I think it would be a good introduction to the Third Doctor. Very much so.
Yeah. So I hope that helps, Father Brian. We give some ideas. It's this 50 years of 50 plus years of Doctor Who to choose from. Sometimes it's hard to, you get a few of us together in a room and we'll go on and on about which ones are the best ones to start with. But check out our 200th episode, the essential Doctor Who stories. That might also give you some ideas. So, all right. I think that'll do it for now. We'll take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create The Secrets of Doctor Who, including Stephen B., Lawrence S., Nicholas D., Richard M., and Stuart J. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue The Secrets of Doctor Who and all the shows at StarQuest. Now's a great time to become a StarQuest patron, thanks to a generous gift from a StarQuest supporter when you start a new Patreon monthly pledge at sqpn.com/give. The first 3 months will be matched by an equal amount from our donor, which helps make your gift go even further. So if you've been thinking about becoming a StarQuest patron, now's the time. Visit sqpn.com/give today. We'd also like to thank Victor Lambs, who edits the show for us every week. Thank you very much, Victor. And so that's it from us. What do you think of A Good Man Goes to War? Were you as confused as I was the first time you watched it? Do you love it? Let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com or the Secrets of Doctor Who Facebook page, or send an email to drwho@sqpn.com. We'll be back next time and we'll be discussing the 5th Doctor story, The Arc of Infinity.
Yeah.
Until then, Father Cory Sticha, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of Doctor Who.
To infinity and beyond. Oh, wait, that's a different thing.
Jimmy Akin, thank you as well.
Thanks, Dom.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Doctor Who on StarQuest. And remember, demons run when a good man goes to war.
Right. This is going to be fun.